Well, I'm Maxine13. I am a painter based in St. Louis, and I've been painting consistently since about mid-2018. I have a big family and a creative family, and there was just always some sort of art supplies around, like craft supplies, art supplies, painting supplies, whatever. So definitely from a young age, we were always just making something. I'd get into painting, drawing, sewing, whatever. I don't know that I originally thought it would end up being a job, but it was definitely always something I was doing on the side, at least. The full-time job that I left, when I really started focusing on painting, I was a welding technician for an eyeglass repair company. So that was not like an intended career, that just kind of happened. Prior to that, I was working in a restaurant, so, didn't have anything crazy awesome going on, but I had a good, steady, well-paying job, but I was like, that's not what I want to do. So, big old movie fan, so I watch a lot of old movies, and I did as a kid, so it's just even if it's not something I'm currently in kind of a phase of watching a bunch of old films, they're always in there somewhere, because I kind of grew up on them. My husband loves crazy horror flicks and stuff, so maybe we're in a mood where all we're watching is 70s and 80s slashers, and so maybe that's sneaking into the work, or it just kind of depends. Definitely a big film fan. I like creepy things, so that gets in there. And then big art fan, so maybe it's just something that I've kind of seen and been influenced by somewhere along the line. So this shot is from a scene at the end of the movie Gold Diggers of 1933. It's a Busby Berkeley film. Gone are my blues and gone are my tears. And this is the big finale number, super dramatic. And from having watched the film, I was like, oh, I know that scene, that's such a cool scene, I want to paint that. But then when I Googled it, you couldn't really find what I was looking for. It's just no one had made that screenshot yet, I guess. So I ended up having my husband download a really high quality version of the movie so that we could skim through it all the way to the end and second by second pick the moment where I felt her pose was exactly what I wanted it to be, and then I was like, okay, that's it, now that's the reference. And then I still had to change some things because in the shot in the movie, she's not quite centered with the bridge behind her, and I wanted it to be centered, so when I sketched it up, I focused on the bridge and I centered all the little soldiers as best I could because they weren't quite right either. And then I came back in and started putting her reference in front of all of it just to kind of to me, I was like, that's what you remember when you see the film, is that it all was perfect. But, technically it's not. I mean, it's moving, so you wouldn't really notice that unless you do stop it at a certain point. So it's kind of trying to encompass what it really seemed like, even though it wasn't exactly like that. It's definitely more visual. So, I've done a lot of reading on art history, and I've spent a lot of time looking through art history books just because I like to look at all the paintings. But I didn't, officially take a class in it. I don't have a degree in anything. I'm just self-taught. And I'm definitely drawn to classical styles of painting, and so I would like to continue to replicate that and get better at that kind of thing. But then I also obviously have my own, interests that slip in there, so I maybe paint in a traditional way, but what I'm painting may or may not be traditional. But when they initially released the film, I don't know how familiar you are with it, but this scene where he interacts with this little girl, Maria, what they showed in the initial edit, like, because they thought it was, I don't know, I guess too creepy or something, was that he meets her, they play with the flowers, and then it cuts to like when her dad is carrying her and she's already dead. Whereas in the full cut, which had to basically be restored, he plays with her with the flowers and they throw the flowers one by one into the water. And then, since he doesn't really understand the game, he throws her in next. But it's not because he wanted to kill her. He thought, like, we're still playing the game. And then you see, like, him just totally distraught, not knowing what to do. And then he runs away. So then the scene cuts to where the dad is now carrying his dead daughter. So, you know, in an attempt to, I guess, censor the movie and make it, like, you know, safer for our audiences, they actually made the monster seem a lot worse. Whereas in the full version, you're like, oh, you actually can kind of relate to him more and see that, like, he just doesn't understand, because how would he? I kind of like the idea of creating almost like a separate persona to put all of this under. And the 13 specifically, it's my favorite number. It has creepy connotations to it, though I think that all of that is just goofy superstition. But I guess I relate to that in a way because I've always been a little creepy or seen as a little creepy. And, you know, people have just like, people assume certain things about you if you look a certain way, and all of that is just silly superstition as well. So it's kind of like, well, you know, maybe I'll just lean into that, I guess. And it rhymes, it sounds nice. I feel like it kind of does encompass me and my work pretty well, because Maxine, that is my real name. But it's old-timey. Like, you don't generally meet 26-year-olds named Maxine. It's usually some person's great-grandmother or something like that. And then the 13 encompasses, you know, the kind of creepy, macabre side of the things that I like to make, so I thought it went together.